Hello and welcome.
Welcome, everyone. This is our second podcast, and we're thrilled to be back with you again. Certainly didn't expect this one to be quite as exciting as it's going to be.
Historic.
We
So,
think so.
welcome to Team Awesome Power Hour. Thank you all for being here. We especially thank our Patriots, prayer warriors, and our truther communities for sharing this video far and wide. We're going to be discussing Supreme Court case 22380 with none other than Loy Brunson, who has brought this case, he and his brothers, it sounds like, to the Supreme Court. This involves President Biden, and I use that term loosely, the Biden, we'll say, Harris, and most of Congress. It's a very, very interesting case. And for whatever reason, there are several out there that just didn't think it would go, that they would even see it. But indeed, they have decided, the Supreme Court has decided to take a look at this. So we're very excited about that, and we're very honored to have him here today. We're waiting on him to join. We're doing just a Zoom call, and we're recording this. And as soon as he comes on, we're going to just give him the floor and let him roll. But we just wanted to let you all know a little bit. It's our second podcast, so a little about us. We just feel like God has called us to share truth and share Him, and just, you know, who are we? Nobody really. We're just His, and we're just really honored to have the ability to do this.
Just hopefully be able to spread the information out to other people that might not necessarily be following some of the real patriots, truthers out there. I mean, we're just Christina Dean, so
Yeah.
we have friends, and hopefully those friends will spread this far and wide. I think it's an extremely important case that is being brought before the Supreme Court. And I can kind of understand where people wouldn't want to get their hopes up on it. There's been so many others that have just been you don't have the right to bring this up and be pshaw. But with everything that that Lloyd has done with his brothers on a multifaceted court case, one going state level, one going federal, and it was just absolutely brilliant in the way they've done it.
It really is. It's moved up so quickly to the Supreme Court. And what's beautiful, we're both sitting here just going, oh my goodness, this is history in the making. Literally, this is history in the making. Whether it proceeds and they do something now or later, just the way this has all come about is glorious. It's absolutely glorious because it gives power back to the people. They're just people, right? They just had enough, and enough is enough. And I think we've all felt that way. And I think it's just time that we all understand it's time to take it back. And we are so grateful. Hi, Loy. It looks like he is coming on to join us now. We're just so grateful for the Brunson brothers and all that they're doing. And he is connecting as we speak, so he will be here momentarily.
Just the strength and the bravery to bring this out the way that the Brunson brothers have has been just absolutely amazing. And we're just so tickled to have him here with us.
Yes, Lloyd,
by the way,
welcome. Are you muted? Okay, how about that?
We got to check mark out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are so grateful that you agreed to do this today. It's our second podcast of all things. And we were like, wow, we could be like making history on the second podcast. This is so exciting. Welcome. And it's what a privilege and honor to have you.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. We're going to let you have the floor and just share kind of where we are, how this all came about, and how you see it going.
Well, let's see here. How much time do we have?
as much
As
as
much
you
as you
want.
You want the whole story or just the updates?
If you could give us some background
This is kind
and
of a
just
recap, and then we're
Yeah.
on from here.
Okay, I'll try to make it. I'll try to, not to use too many words. I have two brothers, three of us. There are four Brunson brothers, and we're all really supportive of the Constitution and what we're doing with this lawsuit. So three of us are actively engaged in this lawsuit. One brother has a considerable amount of experience in federal and state courts litigating. He's gone to the state Supreme Court. He's gone to the U.S. Supreme Court twice with petitions to writ certiorari. So he's pretty experienced. And about 2020, he was really upset and wishing and thinking that something needs to be done about what happened. And so we got together as three brothers and decided to move forward with his plan, and that is to bring a lawsuit concerning all the crazy stuff that happened in the 2020 election. So as we evolved and got into it, we decided it was not the right thing to do to sue about the outcome or to sue representing a political party of persuasion. So our focus, and if you've read the petition for writ certiorari, you'll see that it was a national security issue. If 100 witnesses, members of Congress, can testify to the larger body of the House and the Senate that there are some security breaches and that there was quite a bit of evidence of fraud and criminal activity having to do with the election, that they're obligated to consent to a 10-day investigation. So Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and others pushed for that. And so every single one of the members of Congress and those that were complicit with it, that fought against it, we are suing for depriving our rights to participate in a constitutional, sound, honest election. So this started about 2 years ago. I decided they wanted me to be the plaintiff. So I consented to being the plaintiff, filed in federal court, and went through quite a bit of rigmarole trying to get that filed even. And so because they wouldn't even let me file in federal court, they were saying it was deficient. And actually, they had sort of accepted one of my, I had ended up with a Fourth Amendment complaint. So one of my thing was the Third Amendment complaint. They actually, or maybe it was before that, they actually ordered the U.S. Marshal Service to start serving the complaint in Washington, D.C. upon the 388 defendants, which include Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, and 385 sitting members of the U.S. House and U.S. Senate. And then the next day, it was March 31st, I think, 2021. Then the next day, April 1st, April Fool's Day, right?
Right.
They were all notified that it was a mistake, that my complaint was deficient. And so that became a battle where we actually took the federal court of Utah, which is the Utah District United States District Court. We took that court to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals with what you call, it's sort of like an appeal, but it's not. It's a complaint about the lower court, and I think it's called a petition for writ of mandamus. And so that didn't help out. We were saying that they were blocking it, and the 10th Circuit was saying, no, they're not blocking your case. And so we took both those courts, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals and the United States District Court, the District of Utah, to state court.
So you took the courts to court.
Exactly.
The U.S. attorneys were representing two defendants. The two defendants were the Federal Court of Utah and the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. Those were the two defendants. And because I was asking for $2.9 billion in damages, each court, if they were to have been found guilty, would be liable for the monetary damages, which I'm asking, regardless of the merits of the case. When
we lost you on
then they're liable for the damages you're asking for, the monetary damages. So we go into state court, and the judge, we fought that for a while, and U.S. attorneys fought to have it dismissed, and they got it dismissed. And so even though they got it dismissed, a few weeks later, I got a notice from the federal court that they had not only filed my case for me, but they had actually ordered the clerk of the Federal Court of Utah to issue 388 summonses and complaints, or summons.
Yes.
Okay. So we do the complaints. So we went and we started doing that, and we spent a lot of money having the service do that, the service process service through the mail. It's pretty expensive to have 388 members of Congress or 388 defendants served. So while that was happening, my brother had already decided that my other brother decided he should file one as well, identical to mine. So he started in state court, and the U.S. attorneys filed a motion to have it moved to federal court, which it was. It was moved to federal court. And at the get-go, we were realizing that they would file motions to dismiss, and we would lose. And that was fine with us as long as we could move quickly, because our goal was the U.S. Supreme Court. Getting into this, we had decided right at the get-go that we're going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court with this, and that's where it needed to be. And we felt like the justices there would maybe look at this in a more constitutionally sound way than the lower courts would anyway, and then that would be the final say. So we went from state court to federal court to the 10th Circuit. Now the 10th Circuit sat on it for about 4 months. So we thought we were dead in the water, because in order to go to the United States Supreme Court, you need to go through all the lower courts. Otherwise, you will send your petition and they'll just send it back to you and say, hey, you didn't get a decision from the highest court before you came here. You can't bypass those courts. You've got to try all the remedies possible through the court system before you come to us. And so we got thinking there has to be a way that we can, because this is important. This is affecting everyone in this country on a daily basis. People's lives are being affected, and people are dying, actually. So we did. My brother, the legal-minded brother, Darren, the expert in procedure, even though he's not an attorney, none of us are attorneys, found a Supreme Court Rule 11. Now, Rule 11 tells you that if the clerk of the court, if the court decides that it's of a national emergency level, if it's a national emergency, then they will accept your Rule 11. But on the cover of your petition, and we have to have it perfect bound. It has to be, there's some strict formats that are required to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court, or they'll just send it back to you without even, do anything with it. So we had to file it under, it was a petition for writ of certiorari under this court's Rule 11, I think was the official title. So I have a few copies of those. So we put that together and we sent it off, and just praying that they would accept it, hoping that they would. And about 5 days later.
Oh, sorry.
The person that called us was a case analyst, and she said,
I'm sorry, we lost your audio for just a minute at 5 days later.
Okay, can you hear? Okay, 5 days later.
Yeah.
Here now? Okay. My brother's trying to call me. It must be important.
Oh, okay.
Is this recorded? Could we pause it for a second, or is this live?
It is on a
pause
Zoom
it.
call. I think we can pause it.
Oh.
Let me try. I'm learning. Okay. Pause. Okay.
Okay, so 5 days after we sent off this petition under Rule 11, we received a phone call from the court, and it was a case analyst working in the clerk's office. Now, the clerk of the Supreme Court is not one of the justices' clerks. The Supreme Court has a clerk, and the sitting clerk right now for 11 years was the attorney for the Supreme Court. I didn't know that the Supreme Court has an attorney that advises them, a special attorney. So this analyst calls us and said that they had decided to accept this petition under Rule 11, and we were just flabbergasted. And they said, we'd like you to add some additional content that wasn't really required, but they asked us to add some additional content. And then they said, add that and then get it to us as soon as you can. And they said, how soon can you get it to us? And we said, well, try to get it to you in a couple of weeks, as fast as we can. So we get working on that. And just a couple of days before we have it bound and ready to go, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, is this too much legal stuff?
No.
It's wonderful.
Okay, so the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals notifies us that they've made a decision. And so it's like, oh, we don't need Rule 11 then. We can just go straight. Now we've completed everything as if it were not a national emergency. So my brother calls the court and said, should we take the Rule 11 materials out of it? Or should we just leave it in? They said, no, take it out, put in what we actually put in, and how soon can we get this? And so he told him that we thought it would take a while to get it, and we got it to him a week earlier than we said. And so we sent it on a Thursday. That was October 20th of this year. They received it on the 24th, which was a Monday, and they docketed it as and showed it as filed on the day we mailed it, which is standard. You know, it's considered filed the day you mail it. So the docket shows received on the 24th and filed on the 20th. Okay, now that sets the clock in motion. That sets the deadline in motion for the U.S. attorneys. They have now 30 days to oppose this petition, to fight against it. So Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, is the deadline. And between the filing of the docket filing date and Thanksgiving, it comes Wednesday before Thanksgiving, they haven't done a thing. And so in the afternoon, we receive a notice that the U.S. attorneys are no longer representing the 380 defendants, but now the United States Solicitor General is representing the 388 defendants. She came on record as the counsel for the 380 defendants, and she also signed a waiver waiving their right to fight against it, oppose it. It's called a waiver of waiving their right to file an opposition. They waived their right to oppose this petition before conference. So it goes in, now it goes into conference. So now it goes into conference without an opposition from the defense attorney.
Is that do you have some thought as why they might have done that? I would have think that they would have
fought that with every tooth and nail, right?
Well, I think that there's a lot of ways you can kind of feel that happened. We feel it was like it was divine intervention.
That's what we're thinking, literally. Yeah.
Maybe the Solicitor General could see that this was a powerful and a constitutional and patriotic petition. This petition gives the Supreme Court more power than they ever been given at a critical time when they're being threatened, the country's being threatened. We're facing so many things, a possible third world war, nuclear holocaust, all kinds of crazy stuff. So maybe she felt like this was just the thing to do. But then also the Supreme Court clerk had asked us to put stuff in there that would be like an opposition. We put their motion to dismiss, which would be like an opposition, but for her to not ask for an extension and for her not to put more materials together for a final fight against this petition was just amazing. In my book, she became a hero in our minds right at that moment. So no matter what,
and we're just gonna give her a shout out because who hasn't prayed for this moment? Who hasn't prayed that everybody has said enough is enough. We've had enough. We've got to do something. And we listen to the prophets. You can probably tell by his shirt, Shake the Shackles Off. We're Robin D. Bullock fans. We attend their church and we are just so grateful for our prophets. But if you're hearing what God is saying, he said, with my mighty hand, because everybody talks about this being 5D chess, right? That Trump's playing 5D chess. So it's this big chessboard. But God said, with my mighty hand, with one swoop, I will knock them all off the board at the same time. And when I heard about this case, I looked at Dean and I said, this is it. This is it. This is what he's going to use to do this. You watch. And we started praying about this and we started trying to get more information, and there's nothing out there. Nobody's talking about it. You can't. I have tried. I have sent this to people of influence that have their own much larger channels and followings than certainly we do, to try to get it out there, and they're like, no, it's going to be DOA. They're never going to touch it. That's never going to happen. And I thought, Lord, if you want me to push this, I will push this.
Well, actually, there are some pretty high profile people. It's starting to go viral just in the last couple of days where they're having like one one person was talking and they had 70,000 views as of like this morning from just 1 or 2 days, 70,000
That's so
views.
awesome.
So it is going viral out there, but every single opportunity to speak about it and to promote it on the internet is great. And
You're
it's
welcome
giving
here as anytime, and
right.
every time you have updates and need to get something out, you just reach
We
out.
just can't let this be swept under the rug.
Right.
That's what they're
Okay.
hoping.
Right.
And I'm giving you some information that some of these bloggers, podcasters don't have because they're not they haven't interviewed me, but they're talking about it. And
Yeah.
so just in the last day or two, a lot of progress has been made where people are starting to catch the vision of it and the importance of the power of this whole thing. So this literally gives the Supreme Court the power to remove permanently from all offices within the United States, federal, state, and local, 387 members of the executive and legislative branch. Joe
Yeah.
Biden, Kamala Harris, and 385 members of the U.S. House and Senate.
Bye-bye.
So a tremendous amount of power right now is happening, and could be, like you said, this could happen swiftly, and it could happen. It would be pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
right now, if they're following procedure, which they can, if if they're considering, they've proven to us that they believe this is a national emergency, at least the clerk's office. So this means they could act in any way they deem necessary to protect this country and to protect the Constitution. So so the normal route that it would go now is Monday or Tuesday would probably see the docket reflecting a day for conference. And conference is where the 9 justices take the first vote regarding this. It's already gone through the clerk's office and all that preliminary stuff to get where it is. But the 9 justices get together privately with no one from either side uh, of the defendants or the respondents or the plaintiff. They go in by themselves and they discuss the case with copies of the petition, and they take a vote. And if 4 out of the 9 votes are in favor of moving this forward to a full-blown hearing, then it moves forward. Now, this is significant. Many cases are kicked out of the system right at the get-go before it even is docketed. Okay, but even conference, only 1 out of 100 make it through conference. So if this makes it through conference, then those people that you're talking about they'll be on fire about this.
Oh yeah.
So, but right now there's some elements to this, as I mentioned, that people are not aware of, that put this to a level where we believe it could very easily move from conference to a full-blown hearing. But if this is a national security issue with exposing it too soon or too much, anything could happen. And I don't want to speculate, what might be happening behind the scenes. Maybe it'll just, go to conference, make it through conference, and they'll have a hearing, and it'll become a national kind of awakening and a support
Right.
correct way. So don't know about that. So anyway, do you have any other questions, or do you want me to go into any more detail about any of it, or?
Anything you want to share, you are just free here to share anything you would like. Have you had any updates since they have agreed to take the case?
No, I
Because
just
at
gave
least,
I gave you the fullest complete update.
okay,
Today's,
awesome.
the weekend, Monday. If you go to 7discoveries.com, we're going to have a real-time update there. We do right now.
Okay.
7discoveries.com. You can spell it out or put the number 7discoveries, plural.com, 7discoveries.com. And you can actually, if you want to donate, if anyone out there is listening and you want to participate, if you could just go to 7discoveries.com, make $1 donation.
Yeah.
Go make $1 donation so we know you're there. We know you're listening. That'd be fantastic. And if you want an exact copy, when we copied these petitions for the Supreme Court, we made extra ones so people could have an actual formatted copy so they can see the exact requirements and format of this petition. And then we also downloaded the cover that from the website that shows the stamps of the United States Supreme Court. So it'll have the stamps of the Supreme Court showing the filing date and showing received, and also with their handwriting, the case number, which is 22-380. If anyone wants to know that wants to go to supremecourt.gov, and if they do the search right, they should be able to find it pretty easily. 22-380. And it's interesting, it also has a case number of 22-4007. 22-07. And so the two case numbers, I guess they assign a case number for the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but the same document has two case numbers, but the main one for the Supreme Court is 22-380. So you go to 7discoveries.com and you can, you probably see a picture behind me of a Constitution book.
Yes.
I've discovered, this was the constitutional meat of the complaint and of the petition, is this what I found in the Constitution that has been overlooked for over 200 years, connecting the dots. And there's some power clauses in there that no one has ever recognized or published before. A sample of that is, if you were to ask anyone on Capitol Hill to show you a clause in the Constitution that specifically identifies and condemns, prohibits socialism, they wouldn't be able to do it unless they had this book. And think about that. Have you ever heard, we hear about the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and we hear different things relating to arms and speech and religion and all this, but I've never heard a representative reference a clause in the Constitution that condemns socialism.
Exactly.
So my book identifies these power clauses that condemn socialism. There's also a clause that we've overlooked for over 200 years too, that I call the interpretation clause. I tell people there's a clause in the Constitution that requires strict interpretation. According to the Constitution, you can only interpret the document in ways that protect and support our God-given unalienable rights. I call it the interpretation clause. The first 10 amendments were identified by Congress as further declaratory and restrictive clauses, but we never hear them identified that way. We always just hear the Bill of Rights, and to me, that's a real watered down. It's almost like a disguise, like a cloak of the power of the first 10 amendments.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because they've only taught the bare minimum so that they can continue to enslave the population.
That's right. They don't want us to know what is in the Constitution, so they ignore these power clauses.
That's right.
So it's amazing. And so I identify those in this book. I'm out of them. I printed 10,000. I just ran out. I hope to I'll have more within a few days for people to go, and they can get copies of that with a donation as well.
I highly suggest you do that. We did make a donation and got a download of the court case, over 100 pages. Certainly haven't gone through it all yet.
Yeah.
Great.
And get the book, because they don't want us to know what's in it. The less we know, the less power we have.
It is so important to be educated, and it is so important to step away from social media and open a book. It is, I mean, we've been generation upon generation upon generation, just continues to get more and more dumbed down throughout history. We can't allow that.
When the Constitution was signed, the founders, some of them were fighting, and the bad guys, kind of the bad position guys, said we've lost. And I look at it like a chess match between God and the devil.
That's exactly right.
And God won, but the devil wins if we don't study the match, if we don't study the document. So these clauses have been ignored intentionally and overlooked. And so I identify those clauses, and I tell people this Constitution is so magnificent that if we were to follow it, we would have prosperity that we couldn't even imagine. And
I believe that's coming. I do. I believe it's coming, because I believe this. So much of this is about re-educating our society.
Yeah.
Having to unlearn a lot of what we know, and relearn the truth.
And participate.
Right.
It's a responsibility.
Yes.
It's for our children, and we're doing this for our babies and our grandbabies and theirs, because we may not be here to see it all through. And that's okay. We're going to a better place when we're done here anyway. But as long as we're here, come hell or high water, we're going to fight for this. We're going to stand for this.
Exactly.
And you can tell. I mean, we are we are patriots at heart, and we are God's children. We are all God's children, and He loves us and wants the best for us. But if you're not intelligent enough to understand what that is and how to get it, then we're going to be stagnant, which is exactly where we've been for so many years. It's just
That's true.
that still.
But even our best constitutional scholars have missed the boat.
Right.
And so I say the Constitution is locked. You cannot really understand it like you need to understand it unless you understand money,
Yes.
unless you understand where money comes from. You've got to understand what a privately owned central bank is. You need to understand. And if people don't understand that the Federal Reserve is a private corporation disguised to look like a government agency, and that when $1 trillion is exactly when $1 trillion, people need to know this. They need to know that when $1 trillion is created out of thin air, it's supposed to be profit for the Treasury, not tax debt for its citizens.
And that's
okay, so the Constitution actually is a tax-free system. And if we understand that $1 trillion created out of thin air is okay, if we have a righteous government, and that trillion is supposed to be profit for the Treasury, not profit for the international bankers that are using that money to destroy our freedoms, destroy the Constitution, destroy this country, and destroy the world, basically.
Brother, you're dead on. Yes.
So I explain that in the book. I talk about the Federal Reserve and focus on money. So once you understand that, then you'll understand the socialism clause. And you'll understand Article 1, Section 8 regarding the creation and the Congress's power to create money, and so on and so forth. But that's a lot of deep stuff there to get into. But so right now we're just focused on this lawsuit.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's come back, and let's talk more about your book. And would be happy to just be a forum to help you educate others. That's really what we want.
And then tell people like you did to go to 7discoveries.com, and they can learn more, and they can watch what's happening in real time with this Supreme Court case.
I love it.
We are so
honored and so grateful for you and your time today.
Oh, thanks. Sure. I want you to know that the two complaints are identical. The Fourth Amended complaint with my name as plaintiff and Roland J. Brunson complaint are identical complaints. So you don't need to download both of them.
Okay, that helps. Thank you. I wondered.
Thank you.
We are so grateful. If if we can do anything to help, you just let us know. And we are tickled pink to do it. But we're just so privileged and honored to have you today. We're praying for all of you. Just know that we are praying for all of you on a daily, because we understand on the flip side of this, there's going to be a whole lot of people once this gets out that don't want this information out.
Right.
They don't. And it kind of spoils their plans. So
so we pray for your safety, and we just appreciate you so much doing the work that other people just haven't had the gumption to do.
Yeah.
And to actually get that out there, buy this book, learn something.
Yes.
And
support your fellow patriots that are trying to get truth to you, and listen and learn. If you won't read, watch a video, watch some truth, but man, there's some stuff out there you need to read. You need to learn.
Sure.
So thank you again. Thank you again. Such an honor.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, and stay in touch.
Anytime, and we look forward to doing it again soon.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.